Welcome. My name is Lori Obazinski, the Director of Sales and Business Development for Rosie Salon Software. And I'm here with Jared Aldama, a coach with the Summit Salon Business Center and is the co-owner of Steel and Lacquer Salon in San Francisco. And also with us today is Jim Bauer, a former salon owner turned technology expert who created and ultimately sold Rosie Salon Software. And he is now the founder and CEO of Salon Interactive, which you may recognize as our integrated e-commerce, salon ordering, and email marketing platform. So today we're going to be talking about how to level up your business and create the ultimate client experience. So thank you both for being here, and I'm excited to hear some of your thoughts on this conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So I just want to kick it off with first impressions, because we hear this all the time, that first impressions last a lifetime. But how and what is the actual power, do you guys think, in a first impression?
Jared?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think first impression is everything. And, I think that it starts with a smile and, a firm handshake or, a hug if they're open to that. And I think just with that instant interaction, you're starting to develop a relationship and trust and, that welcoming vibe where hopefully, the guest feels seen and welcomed, which hopefully will develop into, a long relationship. And you become their beauty advisor and beauty influencer as the relationship continues.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more, Jared. I think, when somebody opens the door of the salon, it should smell good. It should be clean. There should be somebody that is there to face them who is smiling, as Jared said, and it's critically important that people feel welcome and appreciated when they're in your business. I know Aveda back years ago did something that they did a study and they came up with I don't know if it's true or not, but Aveda used to say that somebody decides if they're going to buy retail in the first 3 seconds that they walk in the door, and so first impressions are just critically important.
Do you think they're recoverable? Like if the first impression is like 50% great and the other like 1 or 2 things were not as great, do you think that's recoverable and somebody will still like have a great experience or choose to come back?
I believe that it's Go ahead, Jim.
Go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
I was going to say that I think, there's the first impression, but I think also having a well-trained team to read social cues and just the energy and the vibe of guests. So hopefully somewhere along the journey that they're inside the company, that someone is hopefully able to recover it. And if not, the front desk team, are able to, how was your experience? And, be able to observe if something felt off and hopefully recover it before they leave the door. And actually in our company, we have a QR code at the door that's like a guest satisfaction survey. So, hopefully we're trying to get it before it hits, a review on Yelp or something like that.
Yeah. I think, it's interesting too. It starts really, today it's different than it was 20 years ago because that first impression might even start online, right? Somebody might find you through a Google search. They might go to your website. They might, I think all of these things are important. They may schedule their own appointment at your website. And so whatever tool you're using becomes important, right? It needs to be easy to use. And that's really where the experience starts, is at that scheduling. So it's how do you answer the phone? What does your website look like? What does your software look like? All of those things are critically important in the overall experience. Mm-hmm. But I do think, you can recover from anything, but try to get it right. Mm-hmm. You can recover, but who wants to recover? Get it right from the start. Welcome people when they walk through your door. Make sure that your website is, represents what you want it to represents what your business looks like, and your software is easy to use and schedule appointments and those sorts of things.
We're talking about creating experiences, and people choose all types of businesses that they go to based off of the experience. It's like travel and restaurants. They want a good experience and things. But for in a salon, it's that experience, and it's also based off of emotion. So there's so many reasons people come into a salon. It's like they're a breakup, they're fresh off of a breakup or a divorce, they got engaged, it's a wedding coming up, they have an interview, they're a new mom, it's a new seasonal trend, something, there's some emotions that drive people into salons all the time. And I think that those emotions mixed with the experiences that they're looking for can leave us in the salon to help create really powerful, pivotal moments for them that could last for a very long time, or leave them something that is memorable for them. How do you guys suggest that we create those moments, or take those experiences and emotions and create that moment that they'll remember?
Well, I think, every guest, there's a different opportunity. I don't know that it's just the hairdresser. I think it's the entire staff. I mean, interesting story. I mean, the reason Rosie is named Rosie actually is because I had a desk manager named Denise, and Denise wasn't a very sexy name. Um, but no offense, Denise is out there. but really, we had our first salon, and we opened it in a suburb of Chicago, and we did really well right out of the gate. I mean, I had hired a desk manager. We had a great desk staff, and the business took off. And in the first year, we were profitable. And it was a long time ago. It was a different time. It was late '80s, and but I really thought 5-7 years later, I really thought that I was the driving force of all of that. And when we opened our second location, it didn't go quite as well. And, I was still the driving force behind it. And what I really figured out was I couldn't duplicate the desk staff that I had in the first location, in the second location. And I had a desk manager named Denise who just remembered everybody. She remembered everything about them, who their husband was, who their wife was, their children, they were in the school play, what product they purchased the last time they were in, everything. So when they walked in the door, I mean, she greeted them. Hey, Jane, how are you? It's good to see you. Hey, how did the school play work? Did Joe have a good, blah, 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 blah. And everybody was her best friend. And that was, much to my dismay. I was happy about it, but it wasn't me at all. It was that desk, it was Denise. It was her welcoming, her welcoming every guest that walked through the door, her remembering every single thing about everybody. So I think if you're trying to create that ultimate experience, it's critically important to remember things about your clients. Even if you have to take notes, just write something down. When they come back in, just remember that their son was in the play, or remember that, whatever it was, they purchased that hairspray the last. How did you like the hairspray, right? Just those little simple things. One, improve customer service, but two, make people feel special. And if you can make somebody feel special, of course, give them a good haircut, make them feel good about their looks, and that stuff is, that goes without saying. But it's the little details that I think, offer them a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, whatever it is you serve in the salon. Make sure they're comfortable. Can I get you a magazine if they're processing? Those little details are so critically important.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I think, a luxury experience for me equals just to be taken care of. And, I think everything that you just said, Jim, involves just taking care of the guest from the moment they walk in to the moment they leave, and even online, whether that's education videos, etc. But I also think that naturally humans just want to be acknowledged, be seen, and they want to belong somewhere. So I think if you tug on those heartstrings with guests and make them feel all of those things, I think it's a beautiful thing. And I also believe in just complimenting guests as well. The simple, like, I love those glasses on you. Where did you get this bag? And just honestly showing authentic interest, but also giving authentic compliments as well.
I like that. You both said something like to show care. right? And just show that you actually care about them as a person. And it could be even like, oh, I remember that you like this specific type of tea rather than coffee, and making sure you remember those kinds of little things. I think we've all worked in salons and owned salons. And I think for us, a salon is a safe space. It's like our home. It's our space. It's our chair. It's our back room. It's our kitchen. It's our dispensary. But for a guest coming in, and especially a first-time guest, it can be intimidating. It could be scary. They could be nervous or anxious. They are uneasy. They don't know what to expect. They don't know who they're seeing that time. What are some things that you guys do in the salon, or have experienced, for us to be able to help ease those feelings for a guest, so that they feel comfortable and welcomed when they first come in?
I'll tell you. Yeah. Well, I think Rosie does a great job with, the confirmation email and allowing us to put a message in there, a link, whether that's, follow your stylist on Instagram. And hopefully the interaction, can start on social media before they actually come inside the actual physical door. But when, even before when they come in, Rosie has the check-in text. So maybe it's a really warm, yummy, cozy greeting in the text message. And then they walk in the door and, Jim mentioned earlier, that bright smile, that person at the front desk who's just ready to take care of them. Salon tours are great, walking them to the bathroom instead of pointing, and just really treating them like they're in your home, as opposed to, a business per se. From the way it smells to, I always tell my team, even though they're not sitting in your chair, but everybody who walks inside that door is everyone's guest. So, and sometimes I think guests get a little confused, like, wait, is this Brenna or is this Chloe? Because everyone's just like, oh, hey, welcome,
Yeah, I think, I totally agree with that. I mean, the more information you can give them, the more at ease they'll feel. And, some people don't know where the coat closet is, right? So when they walk in the door, if they're wearing a jacket, can I hang your jacket for you? Letting them know, Joe's going to be 10 minutes. Can I get you a cup of, giving them all the information that you have, and making sure that they're, and Jared, you're absolutely right. I think if you've got that kind of time, if Joe is going to be 10 minutes, a salon tour is the best thing you could do, right? So now they know where everything's at.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? I'm going to switch gears over here to something else, but what do you think the consultation in that service, how does that play a role in the overall experience for that guest? Jim, you can start.
I think it's just critical. We gave a consultation to every guest. We didn't, you didn't skip. It didn't matter if you've been cutting a person's hair for 15 years. You just don't know what they want to do. You don't know what mood they're in. You don't know you don't know where they're at. And so sitting down with them, first of all, letting them relax. How are you? Getting the formalities out of the way. But that consultation should be built into every service that you give, in my opinion. And it doesn't need to take, a long time. 5 minutes, 3 minutes is really all it requires. But I think it makes the guest feel heard, and like you're trying to service them, like you're trying to do what they want you to do. It's a very personal thing that we do. We literally have our hands in people's hair, and we're touching them and ultimately making them feel good about themselves. And so they should be in the driver's seat of that. They should be the ones directing you. You're servicing them, and that's critically important. I know, Jared, you're going to say the same thing. Being a Summit Salon, there's no way.
Yeah, I think the consultation is about listening, and just hearing what the guest wants, and what their hair dreams are, or beauty needs are, or concerns. And I think repeating back is huge, because oftentimes they've been rehearsing this consultation in their head, and what are they going to say, and what pictures am I going to show, and really just sitting back and kind of letting them unload their the rehearsed kind of spiel about their hair. And yeah, listening, repeating back. But also I think observing energy, I think, is huge, because you don't know if they've had a bad experience consultation somewhere else, or they weren't heard or listened to. So I always try to teach our team to be able to read the social cues and acknowledge it, and kind of get them to relax and make them feel warm and welcome. And I think when it is not, when it's a little bit of a harder consultation, to be able to read that and kind of rein it in, and kind of take the lead in that as well.
I won't say the numbers because I don't know if they're still true or not, but there's that statistic out there that of like service providers who say that they give the consultation versus the guest who says that they actually got a consultation, and the numbers are very different. So I think, Jared, to your point of repeating that back, saying like, this is what I heard you say, is this true to what you want? And giving some of those examples, I think, is a crucial part of that consultation, to be able to say that I understand what you're looking for, and that I understand, so that you both are on the same page. I think that's huge.
I think something too that's important to that I wish all hairdressers felt, but I think the same sort of statistic. If you ask clients who's the number one influencer on the hair care products that you purchase, 9 out of 10 say their hairdresser. But yet most hairdressers don't offer their clients the knowledge of proper home care, right? The products that they're carrying in the salon, letting them know why they're using the products they're using. I think that needs to be a part of every consultation as well. When you're looking at somebody's hair and you see that it's dry, I mean, it's at that point, that you should be recommending a good conditioner. If you're putting hairspray in somebody's hair, you should be explaining to them why you're putting hairspray in their hair. If you're using a gel or a styling product, this, whatever it is, if you're putting it in their hair, you should be telling them why you're putting it in their hair. There is a reason you're doing it, and there's no, it's overwhelming. You have the data, but I used to slice that data up and look at it so many different ways. But clients who purchase retail are 3 times more loyal, meaning they stay in the business 3 times longer. Clients who purchase retail refer 3 times more people to your business, and clients who purchase retail come more often, more frequently. And so there's no reason not to sell retail to them. They want you to sell it to them. And actually, Jared, there's a guy in San Francisco, Gary Gemma. I don't know if you know Gary Patrick Salon in the Bay Area, but he was a retail. I mean, the retail that guy sold was incredible, and it was amazing to me when I first met him. He would just set products on, like when he checked out a client, he would just say, okay, I use this shampoo, I use this conditioner, this is the gel I used, here's the hairspray, and once a week you should use this deep conditioner. And 9 out of 10 people bought every one of those products and walked out the door because he explained to them why he was using it when he was doing it. And, it was, and the guy was incredibly busy, had a huge clientele, everybody loved him. It was part of the service, and it is part of the service. I think that when you don't sell retail to your guest, you're not giving them the full service. That's my opinion. If they go home, you give them a beautiful highlight and they go home and they use Prel, and their beautiful honey blonde hair turns orange, who are they mad at? They're not, and it's your fault. You didn't tell them how to take care of it. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that.
Well, no, I agree with you. And I think that takes the fear of feeling salesy. Stylists don't like to feel salesy, but it takes that fear away of being that. If you start it during the consultation and you're just educating them on their hair type and their needs all the way through, rather than at the end and saying, here's what you need to buy. And then you start feeling salesy because you just put it at the end. So I agree. It should start all the way through the consultation. Still sticking with the consultation, sometimes stylists or service providers are scared to talk about price. They're scared to tell you how much something might cost, or they think, is it too much? Is it not enough? But it is a huge part of that consultation, and it should be included in that consultation also, so that you don't create a bad experience at the end of their service when they're sticker shocked when you tell them the price of something and they thought it was going to be a totally different price. And there's different things or ways that I've seen stylists, like I've seen one stylist who would ask people during the consultation, what is their beauty budget? And I thought that was a really great way to open up that conversation of like, this is what your goals are for today. What is your beauty budget? And then let me tell you what we can do within that budget. What are some things that you guys recommend on how you can open up the price conversation of what things would cost during a consultation?
I mean, I think
I
that's
like
important, even starting on the website or, social media or, somewhere to actually have pricing posted. So that way, as they're doing their research on who they want to see, that, they're kind of already figuring out, just this service provider fit in their beauty budget. But I always say, like, pricing, talking about it, it's only weird if you make it weird, don't make it weird. And I feel just like, you just have to be super, super transparent and respect people's wallets, especially in this, atmosphere that we're all living in. And I do know that people are spending way more money on their, hair than they were, pre-pandemic because, they were without their hairdresser for a while. And they're in Zoom calls and, they're back in the offices or what have you. But we use tickets in our company. It's something that Summit has definitely promoted to us, and something about visually writing down what the pricing is and talking that through, but also picking up on, are they scooting back a little bit? Did their body language shift? And kind of observing the social cues as you're talking about pricing. So that way you can, say that there's different pricing inside the salon based on demand. We have an associate program. But I think even if, you don't fit in the guest beauty budget, at least give them options, because I think people love options.
I love it's only weird if you make it weird, so don't make it weird. I'm gonna reuse that, Jared. I like it. I think that's dead on. It's only weird if you make it weird. I mean, most people, I think hairdressers, I think it's part of the reason why they don't want to sell retail. They do a highlight and a haircut and they're afraid to go up to the desk and say that's $160 or whatever, wherever you're at, whatever the price is. That makes them nervous. And I think the reason is we build these relationships with our clients and we actually treat them more like friends than we do like business associates. And, they become friends. I mean, it's such a personal thing that we do. It's difficult for them not to become your friend. You learn so much about them. You get to know their families. You get to know, and I think it's hard for a lot of hairdressers to separate those two things. And so if you're having a hard time charging your clients your price, you just need to put it in your head and say, am I charging a fair price for the service I'm providing? And if you feel like your haircuts are up to par and you're giving the right service to your clients and you're comfortable with your prices, then don't be afraid of it. Just say what it is. And if somebody's uncomfortable with it, if it's outside of their budget, then, that's their thing and they can go do whatever they need to do, but so many hairdressers love to discount people. They start out charging people full price, and by the fifth or sixth haircut, now they're their friend. So I'm going to give you a discount. It's like, no, don't do that. Why are you doing that to yourself? They were paying full price. Let them be.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, sell them the retail too, because they need it. Everybody uses it. Nobody doesn't shampoo. I shampoo Jared, you probably use shampoo. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
It's like sell the retail, please.
Yeah. I had a mentor tell me one time that they are your hair friends. They are not your best friends, but they're your hair friends. And I think as long as you bring it back to their hair journey or their home care regimen, or really bring it back to just educating the guest, I think that goes back to just a luxury experience and having them feel taken care of.
That's a good one, a hair friend. And that's true because people are paying for your time, as we say, right? They're paying for your time. And when you create that experience that they enjoy being there with you, they're willing to pay for that. And to Jim's point, they're paying full price. They like the experience. They want to come back to you. And that, you happen to also give them a great balayage or a great haircut with it. So making them feel like they're valued and that they enjoy that experience and that it's valuable to them, and they're not just a transaction either. So kind of start with the price, get it out of the way, do it through the consultation, and move on and give them a great experience after that. So I want to talk about, this didn't happen when I was in the salon years ago, but now everybody has a before and after picture. But sometimes there's clients that you see sitting in chair, and some clients get the before and after picture and some don't. And so what does that create in the salon? Because it's like, do you have to show up with all your makeup and your best outfit on in order to get your picture taken that day? Is it just because a service provider is really busy and they're running late that you don't get your picture taken? Like what makes somebody be able to get that and somebody not get that? And how does that make people feel in the salon when one is giving them that experience and it's included in the service? Some people build that into their time of like, we're going to take your picture beforehand, we're going to take a picture afterwards, and we'd love both of you to share it. But what does that create when people are doing that?
I think people enjoy the before and after. The client enjoys the before and after picture. I know my wife gets her hair cut by An Catron, and we were in Miami the last time in the salon that he was in, because he visits different salons, had a whole area for the before and after pictures. And people were lined up, and you could see they were excited to get to the front of the line and get their picture taken, because there were 2 or 3 people in front of them. That predates me. I'll be honest. We weren't doing a lot of that in the salon. Everybody didn't have a camera in their pocket when I was in the salon. It's been 15 years for me, but I don't know what it does to somebody when they don't get it taken, but it's a great question. I think if you're doing it, you should do it to everybody. Build it into your time. If you have to add a couple dollars to the service for it, then for the time, then you have to. That's just part. If it's something you feel your clients and your guests are interested in and enjoy having done,
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I want to say that just as far as our salon company goes, we can definitely do and be better when it comes to, being consistent with the before and afters and making sure that no one feels left out, and being more inclusive with that. But I think one of the things that sticks out to me just in this conversation is the consent and making sure that the guests feel comfortable and whether or not it's okay to post. And, also just engaging on social media as far as following one another. But I think that there is a ton of opportunity around that interaction, whether you're airdropping them all the photos. And, I think there was a point in time, we were a few years in, and we have this beautiful metallic cork wall covering in our company. And people were utilizing those photos for their LinkedIn headshots or their dating apps. And then it was like, that sparked conversation. It was like, oh, you go to Steel and Lacquer? I go to Steel and Lacquer. So there was like this branding of our background that necessarily wasn't in your face Steel and Lacquer. But, it was one of those things where it was like when online dating happens and the background is creating conversation pieces, I think we've made it.
that's awesome.
So we've all probably worked next to another service provider or been in the same salon with somebody who every single thing about their life, their dating, their kids, their vacations, their everything, because the service provider tells all of their clients everything about themselves because people like to talk about themselves. But being able to actually listen as a service provider or stylist, whatever, be able to listen to your clients, there's that rule of like, listen 80%, talk 20%. That listening part is a true skill to be able to do. And that's why people also consider themselves as a hairstylist, like your therapist, because they're listening to you as the client. How do you guys master those skills, or how do you train your team to be able to really tune in and listen to your clients instead of like spilling your own guts to your clients?
I don't know how you teach that. I'm not sure. But what I do know is in my experience, when you watch the people who are talking about themselves, and we have all worked with those people, they're generally not the busiest person in the salon. They have less of an audience, less people listening. You know, I think the people who are naturally good listeners are you know, it's not just that. It's of course providing a good service, getting a good haircut, but it's not always the best hairdresser who's the busiest hairdresser in the salon. In fact, it's almost never. It's usually the most congenial, the best listener, the guy who's always happy, or the girl who's always happy, the person who's, you know, excited to see everybody, listens to what they have to say. Those are generally, you know, and of course they have to be a good hairdresser. But it's critically important that you listen. I don't know how to teach somebody how to listen, but it's critically important that you do. So if you're not a good listener, if you can identify yourself as that person who's, you know, constantly talking about yourself and not talking about your clients, you should adjust that. you should change that for yourself. You should figure out how to do a better job of listening to people.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that I've learned through the years is, and maybe someone gifted me this, and I'll gift it, pay it forward here. When a guest asks you a question, typically they want you to ask them so they can talk about themselves. And so, I mean, when any guest asks me a certain question, you know, I'll share what I need to, and but then I'll ask them, and they usually just take it away. So that saves me a lot of talking. But also, I think just bringing it back to them and their hair, and, you know, educating them on what you're using, and asking them about their hair journey and where they've been before, and asking them about where they want to go and what their styling is, and all of that doesn't have to happen just in the consultation. But if you just bring it back to why they're there, and you are the beauty professional, the beauty advisor, I think you'll save yourself a lot of, I think, having to be a hair what do they call it? Like a hair therapist. But yeah, I think to my team specifically, I always just try to promote them to, you know, bring it back to hair, bring it back to technique. And we are, you know, a summit salon, and we have our associate program. So a lot of times our busy stylists are teaching our associates and educating, and we're also interacting with one another to, you know, create the culture inside the salon, and, you know, talking to our other stylists about what we're doing. And so I feel like when you do all of those things, it doesn't leave a lot of time for those in-depth, you know, gossipy, or, you know, just irrelevant conversations for why they're there.
I think it also just shows a level of care, again, kind of like what we talked about earlier, that level of care when you show interest in your client and asking them and want to know about them and their life and what's going on, you know, in their best interests. It shows that level of care, and they feel that from you as well. So there's so many salons that are open right now, you know, post-pandemic. There's salons reopened, or brand new salons that open. There's new salons opening all over the place. And so for salons that have been around for a long time, some of those original ones that have made it through everything, there's clients that see, you know, those new shiny salons. What do we do for those existing salons through the experience and through what we provide for them, without having, you know, the fresh paint and the fresh, you know, decor and everything? How do we keep those clients from going to those new salons and keeping them within our businesses?
I've always thought that most people don't like change. People really don't like change. So if you give them reasons not to change, they don't. You know, one of the things we used to do in our salons when I hired somebody, instead of, I mean, we would talk through, you know, what are your goals? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? And ultimately, almost every hairdresser wants to own their own salon. And, you know, they would tell you that. And so my thing was, I want to help you achieve your goals, and I want to get you there. And sooner or later, you're going to leave here. One day you're going to leave. And we would talk about how you're going to leave the salon. You're going to give us a 2-week notice. We're going to, you know, put a letter together. Maybe we can do it jointly if you're willing. Send it to your clients. We're going to tell them exactly where you've gone, where to park their car, what the phone number is. And then we're also going to tell them that if that's inconvenient for them, that we're still open and we'd be glad to recommend somebody here for you. And on your last day, we'll buy you a cake, we'll hug, and you'll leave, and that's how it's going to go. And in 22 years of being in business, I had one person leave who didn't give me a 2-week notice. In all cases, about 60% of their clients, when somebody left, stayed in the salon. And a year later, we could track back 80% of them stayed in the salon. And I think the main reason was, one, we provided a good service, and we did give good customer service. People knew, we had Denise. When they walked in the door, they got a smiley face. But two, we were very transparent with them and the client as well as the hairdresser who left. And, so many times when somebody leaves a salon and goes to that shiny salon across the street that just opened up, the client calls your salon and the person on the phone is instructed to say they don't know where they went. Well, you're lying to the client. I mean, you're now lying to your customer. You know where they went. They're right across the street, right? I mean, so sending out a letter saying, here's where they went. The client actually feels like you appreciate them. Like you're giving them all the information and allowing them to make a decision for themselves, which is ultimately the right thing to do, right? It's the client's decision where they want to get their haircut. And if they want to go to that person across the street, that's their decision. But again, most people don't like change. They know where to park the car when they go to your salon. They know that Denise is up there with her smiley face, and they know that, the coffee is good and the bathroom's over here. And, so if you're doing all the things right, that shiny salon across the street shouldn't be a problem for you.
I believe the culture inside the company is huge, and you can't recreate culture through new construction. And I think and it takes a while to develop that, and it starts with the owners and the leadership team, and the systems and the processes, and I think also just taking care of your team and making sure that you have the right people in the company for the right demographic, and making sure that there is just a synergy and there's integrity. And so when people walk in without anyone speaking, there's just an energy and a vibe that's inside a company that makes people feel like at home. And I'll go back to they belong and they're seen and they're heard and they're acknowledged. But it starts with the owners being able to do that for their team, so then their team is able to do that for their guests.
I love that. So you both kind of said focus internally. Like, you don't have to worry about your neighbors down the street or new salons popping up or people leaving. If you focus internally on your own team, your own culture, and care, again, just really everything. It's amazing.
And just FYI, like, I love a new salon company that opens up nearby, because I'm like, ooh, what are they doing? Can we be friends? How can we collaborate?
Yeah, that's even better.
Yeah.
Even better.
So many. I mean, what's amazing is there's 1.2 million hairdressers in the United States. There's literally 200,000 commission-based salons that employ 500,000 hairdressers, and then there's 700,000 independent hairdressers. To put that in perspective, there's 35,000 McDonald's in the world. Right? There's 1.2 million hairdressers in the U.S. You're not going to get away from competition. Everybody gets a haircut. Jared and I get haircuts. I mean, everybody gets a haircut. So just worry about yourself. Do your thing. Be you, do you, and do it the best you can. And if you're paying attention and you're really putting your best foot forward, and you're going to be fine. You make a good living.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to start to wrap up, but one question I definitely want to know is, how do you, all of these things came back to your culture, your team, what you provide. How do you train these things to your team? And it probably starts with recruiting, but then how do you set those expectations with them? How do you correct that? How do you show them what you want to provide as an experience to your guests?
Yeah. Go ahead, George.
I've been in the industry for 15 years, and I have co-owned our company for the last, coming on 7.5 years. And we would not be able to be where we're at and do what we do without Summit Salon Business Center. I mean, I think the systems and the processes and the best practices and the coaching and the consulting have been imperative to our success and pushing us. And just it's one of those things where it's like, why change something that works or try to reinvent something that works? And especially when you're combined with a company that has so much data from so many salons and so many demographics. It's been a huge for us. So I think, they have really helped us put in place systems and, trainings and programs. And, it definitely, within our company, we kind of make it our own and put our own branding and spin on certain things. But I think that has really helped us, kind of be where we're at today, for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the things missing today, or that isn't as strong as it was 20 years ago, is apprenticeship programs. And the industry's changed so much with independent contractors and suite rental and chair rental, and that really wasn't as strong when I was 20 years ago. And so I think Jared's dead on. You have to involve yourself with others. You have to, especially if you're an independent, you have to find other hairdressers and have some camaraderie, and learn from each other, and being connected to something like Summit. And there's others out there, but Summit's a great, obviously one of the best. I think it's critically important that you do those things. One of the things that I used to do in our salon was when we hired a new apprentice, on their first day, when it was closing time, I always made sure that I was there. And of course, it was their job to clean the salon, and we were crazy about being clean in our salons. We wanted the salon to be very clean. And so I would always walk through and share with them everything that we were going to do. You're going to use Windex here. You're going to wipe this off with this. You're going to do this. We got to clean the shampoo sinks. We're going to clean the bathroom. I'm going to help you tonight. I'm going to start. I'll do the bathroom today, and then you do the sinks. And I would clean the bathroom, and I would clean the toilet, and I would clean the sink, and I would mop the floor, and and then of course the next day that person would be doing that. But I think it's just, you lead by example, I guess, is my point. And, you do all the things that we've talked about on this call, and you do it every day, and you do it without exception. And, there's no job too big or too small in the salon for anybody in the salon. And, I just think you lead by example, and people will follow that, and it's about building culture. And, that culture starts from you, as the leader of the business.
I love that.
I think just to add to that, it's like, I always empower my team to treat the salon like it's their own, like they own it.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea always of giving your new stylists, your new team members, the experience that you want them to serve to your clients. So letting them go through a full service of walking in, and their greeting that they receive, and they get a service from, a service provider, and they use the restroom, and they get the shampoo, and they go through the checkout, and they get the full service that you want them to also deliver, and then they get to feel it themselves.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Do you guys have before we wrap up, any final thoughts, any words of advice, anything that you would like to share with anybody on how to create an ultimate client experience in the salon?
I don't know I think that we've covered a lot of how to create the ultimate client experience. I guess if I were to say anything, what I would say is, it's such a great industry. It's an industry where you can make what you want out of it. I mean, I'm a guy who didn't graduate from high school. I had 5 children that went to college. I've led a very, very nice life, and I've done it, you know, with a pair of scissors in my hands. You know, enjoy this, enjoy your clients. You'll meet the greatest people. Do it with your eyes open. Learn something new every single day. You know, there's something to learn from every single person you come in contact with, and just be a sponge. Take it all in, and someday you'll turn it around, and all of this experience will come out in some other way. Like with me, it was through Rosie. You know, just soak it up, enjoy it, love what you do, have fun every day, and don't forget to learn something every single day, and you'll be fine. You know, I think it doesn't matter what you do in life. If you do it that way, that's, you know, it'll work.
Yeah, I think for me, something I've been, you know, kind of taking my team through and personally recently is just really understanding the why behind why it is that you walk into the salon every day, why you pick up that pair of scissors, why you own a salon, why you work at the front desk. And I think that if you get to the root of that why, you know, there's passion and there's, you know, some soul to the reason for that. And if you can get really clear and have really just crystal clear intention of why it is that you do, I think that there's a lot of just beauty in that. And you know, I think aligning yourself with a company that has similar values to what you have, you know, I think that allows it to just be a lot of fun and have fun and be fun and just generate that. And I think also, you know, just to close it out, I think it's just important to have three people in your life. Three people, or the three people are is people that you look up to, people that are looking up to you, and people that are your peers. So whether you're a associate or a service provider or an owner, you know, find someone that can mentor you and someone that you can, you know, that someone that can be your mentee. And I think it's just full circle. You know, it's like you learn so much by teaching and giving and being a servant leader, and just stay curious and open. And as long as you have willingness to, you know, grow and be uncomfortable, but also brag and celebrate and have a blast, I think this is just a really fun industry. And I feel very blessed and honored to, you know, be on the call with you two and all of the opportunities that I've had. But I think, you know, I've just always tried to stay open.
That's awesome. So good words of advice from both of you guys for everybody out there. And I feel blessed and honored to be on this call with both of you as well. I think that you guys both contribute a lot to our industry and had a lot of great things to share today. So thank you both. You both mentioned some different things, some resources for everybody and tools that can help you contribute to your client's experience are, you can visit getrosie.com. You can visit saloninteractive.com, and you can visit summitsalon.com, and I'll share those down in the comments for everybody if you would like to check out those websites. So Jim and Jared, thank you so much for joining today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.